Last month I got a message from a woman named Laurel, and she told me that she believes that she's my half-sister from my dad's side. When I got that message, I was very shocked, but kind of excited at the same time. She asked me if Roy Welch was my dad, and I said yes, but he's been missing for 7 years. My dad wasn't the best guy. He was accused of sexual abuse, and he was physically abusive. Like, I lived with him when I was 17. CPS took me away. He had a drug habit, but he was still my dad. In 2015, my dad went missing after he was acting weird at my grandmother's funeral. He was acting like people were out to get him, and we kind of think that it has something to do with my uncle. The same month in 2015, my uncle had admitted to kidnapping and killing 2 young girls.
A Bedford County man accepted a long sentence today in a high-profile 40-year-old case in Bedford. Lloyd Lee Welch pleaded guilty in the 1975 disappearance and deaths of the Lyon sisters. He avoids the death penalty, but the 60-year-old is scheduled to serve 48 years in prison in Virginia. It's a case that's received national attention and drawn support from federal agencies and multiple states. The Lyon family was there today and spoke to the media.
It's the end to a 4-year-long case, and it's the end to some of the uncertainty the Lyon family has been dealing with for 42 years. Lloyd Welch officially entered a guilty plea to 2 first-degree murder charges here in Bedford. He pleads guilty to abduction. He does not admit to sexually abusing or killing the Lyon sisters, Sheila and Catherine, in their 1975 disappearance.
I do know that the murders had happened in the house my father was growing up in. He was living in that house at the time. He was the same age as the girls that were kidnapped. It's not impossible that he wanted to avoid everything going on with the trial, and he ran off because of what happened with my uncle. He just didn't want any parts of the whole situation with his brother. I felt a responsibility to tell Laurel everything. I felt bad that I had to tell her as soon as we kind of met, but there's a lot of baggage that comes with the family. I've listened to podcasts about people pretty much saying how the family is nothing but rapists and murderers, and how there's all kinds of nonsense going on in the family. So it sucked that I had to tell Laurel about all that. What I always say is, my dad didn't give me much, but he gave me my sisters. And that's the best thing he's ever given me. So Laurel and I have been messaging on Facebook for the past month now. We haven't spoken over the phone. We haven't been able to meet yet. And I really hope that she's my sister, because me and her have a connection and we get along really well, and I think that it'd be a great relationship to have. It's just been 7 years of not knowing what's going on, and then having a sister pass away and then getting a new one. It's a lot of different mixed emotions.
Sounds like a very crazy story.
It has. It's been a very crazy story.
Yeah. So how did this all get started?
Well, my mom always told me that there was a chance that the dad who raised me wasn't my biological father. She always told me, she was always upfront. She was also very upfront that he wasn't a good guy.
The guy that could be your father, he's not a good guy.
Correct. They were at a party, and she was very intoxicated, and she didn't really know what was going on. She fell asleep in a back room, and when she woke up, he was on top of her, raping her.
Did you ever get to a point where you knew that the man that raised you was not your biological father?
As I got older, I looked different. I'm the tallest in my family. I have different colored eyes than my maternal sister. So my maternal sister and I decided about a month ago that we were going to send off for a DNA test and see how much we were related, see all our relatives that we could find, see where our ancestry came from. We always joked that, you know, she thought she was Asian. And when we got the results back, it turns out that I am. And
You're
she
Asian
isn't.
also.
I have Filipino.
You're Asian, but she isn't.
I have Filipino in me.
Wow.
Yep. So she actually got her DNA test back a week before I did. And you know, all of our relatives showed up, all the relatives we grew up knowing. And so I was so excited. I was like, okay, so this is what I can expect. I can expect to see all my mom's relatives and all my dad's relatives, and that wasn't the case. When I got my DNA results back, it showed half of my mom's and half of strangers. I didn't know any of these people. Kelsie popped up on there, and it showed that we shared 24% DNA. And I mean, just a bunch of random people that I didn't know. So I immediately called my mom and was like, Mom, all these strange people are connected to me through DNA. And she goes, well, tell me some of the names. So I start going down, and I start listing all the names, and I get to about the 10th person down, and their last name is Welch. And I said, Mom, this person's name is Welch. And I mean, her jaw just drops. And she started to cry. And she goes, then your dad is Roy Welch. I found a Find Roy Welch page on Facebook. And so I started going through it, and there was about 5 to 6 years of Kelsie posting about how he's been missing. And a couple years ago in 2015, she had wrote on the Facebook page that people were starting to connect the dots with the family of Lloyd Lee Welch and Roy Welch, and they were half-brothers. And then it turned out that, you know, he did this to these girls, these little girls.
Lloyd did.
Lloyd Lee Welch, which is Roy's
His
half-brother. Yes.
He killed these 2 young girls.
He did. It shocked me. How could you do that?
Yeah. And you're related to these people.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I think.
What do you know about Kelsie?
I've known her for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know much about her, but I'm willing to.
Did you tell her that you think that her father raped your mother?
I did.
Oof.
I did. I told her, and I've told several people, and they all have said the same thing to me. Sounds like Roy.
Now, you meet Kelsie, and I guess, are you talking on phone or just through Facebook?
We've only done Facebook Messenger.
And so, yeah, so kind of like, I don't know if it's the easiest question to answer. Do you want Kelsie to be your sister?
I want her to be my sister so bad.
I mean, talk about emotions must be flowing through you for, you know, meeting
She's
somebody.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. We look alike.
We do. I think we look alike.
Tell me about your dad, Roy.
We did not have the best relationship. We went 2 years without talking before he disappeared. He was physically abusive to me, and not just the story with Laurel and her mom. He's been sexually abusive to other people.
So other women.
Other women, yes.
And so, you know, you weren't really talking with your father before he disappeared, but he just disappeared like he was at a dinner one night, and then boom, nobody ever saw him again?
My grandmother had died, and he went to the funeral acting like people were out to get him, and then he stopped answering the phone. My aunt went out there to check on him, and he was gone.
But, like, was his thing still there? Like, so he just disappeared.
Yeah.
It's not like he, you know, bagged everything up.
From
and
what
then
I
took off.
heard, he had a house, he had an auto body shop.
Yep.
He had a whole life. that he either walked away or he disappeared from.
Yeah.
How tough it is for you to hear from a stranger, Laurel, for the first time. She reaches out to you and she says, by the way, I think your father's my father because he raped my mother.
I mean, I know how Roy was.
So it didn't shock you?
It didn't shock me, but it still hurts to hear.
Yeah. I mean, that's your dad, and hearing your dad doing terrible things like that. And now, and your Uncle Lloyd, do you know how they caught him?
He confessed. He was
Yeah, but
in
I mean,
prison.
he didn't just walk in and say, I confessed. They must have tracked him down somehow, right?
He was in prison. He's been in prison probably my entire life.
I think I read that he was actually already in prison for molesting a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. And then somehow they linked some DNA evidence to him, I'm taking it?
He kept spinning them around about, oh, it was my cousin, oh, it was my dad, oh, it was this, and it was him.
Yeah. Okay, and you only just met Laurel and you've only been communicating through Facebook. Do you want her to be your sister?
I do. I do.
All right. Laurel, you took a DNA test. And the results of that DNA test is that Kelsie and Laurel, you are sisters. You know you two are sisters, and there's other people for you to meet on each side, right?
Lots of them.
You just, you doubled your family.
I did. I really did.
Yeah. Well, this is a nice ending to a really kind of a hard story, especially for you who had to live with these terrible men. But now something good came of it. And I mean, horrible, horrible circumstances on your mom, what your mom.
She's worth it, though.
Yeah. Well, listen. Well, we hope there's a lot of nice memories moving forward, great times to be had in the future. Good luck to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to tell your story on the Steve Wilkos Show? Visit the link in the description to get my help.